Hey guys, welcome back. This is Tony. Welcome back to my channel. I appreciate it. This week we're going to work on a metallics pour, beginning with a nice black base coat of ivory black. Artist Loft paint is my favorite base coat for black, that is. Going to be spreading it out here. That is quite thick for this particular pour, and leading into some metallic bronze, some copper, as well as some cobalt blue. And now with these particular colors, I have tried them before on a separate pour, but I wanted to layer them a bit differently in that they give off a really nice shimmer. Now this bronze may look kind of icky off the beginning, but it is quite a nice color once it spreads out and has a chance to dry. Now the copper as well, I thought was a good contrasting color to give this a shot with on top of the bronze. Again, much darker color, but also bright in color. So I figured this would be a good way to go with a bit of layering. And finally, one of my favorite colors so far in the past while is our metallic cobalt blue, which is very, very pretty and has a very nice shimmer to it. Now, as I begin to lay down this top coat of cobalt blue onto my other two colors, I was very aware of how runny this was getting off the ivory black on the bottom. So I was very careful to kind of speed it up here because things are moving around quite a bit, very fluid on the top there. So I got my cell activator with Amsterdam titanium white along with some Floetrol and 3 or 4 drops of penetrol as my additive, which makes my cell activating formula, we'll call it. And this swipe was very important because I've had a few swipes in the past couple weeks which haven't gone so well. So this was a very good sign that the pour would go off to a good start. And from here I wanted to do much the same in going nice and slow and steady to get a good spread across the initial first 3 colors for a great lacing effect. Now I was very happy with how that first swipe turned out, and I planned on making some negative space with my ivory black in between each of my 3 sections of color. So laying down my second bead of metallic bronze, as well as my next color here, the copper, and of course my favorite, the cobalt blue at the end here, wanting to again make 3 separate semicircles of pattern, leaving some black negative space in between for a bit of breakup in the color. So I thought this would be a good way to have some consistency with the pour, but also again have that black space, leaving some separation between all 3 parts. Okay, now I have a question for those of you who pour and those who may be interested. Who of you out there tries swipes this particular way with a palette knife? And if you do you try to get any cell activation or just prefer to swipe? I'm curious because I've been doing this for a while now and have found that I get success now and then depending on how well I manage the palette knife. I have managed to bury some color pretty deeply into some base colors like this black in the past, which is of course disappointing when you want to get a good swipe. But I guess I'm curious who out there does this kind of swipe and gets any kind of lacing effects like this, or do you prefer to just simply swipe with another tool or avoid the lacing look altogether? Okay, now I have to say I was pretty excited that I was 2 for 2 in these swipes and hadn't blown it yet for managing to wreck one of those swipes. So here we are in my last third of the color portion anyhow, with the bronze, the copper, and the blue, and I'm really hoping not to drop the ball on this third swipe. Again, getting some good lacing effects through that color and managing to kind of mirror the first 2 patterns if I can do it. Now, like I mentioned before, this cobalt blue is maybe one of my favorite metallics I've worked with in probably since beginning pouring. Another question to you guys is, what is one of your favorite metallic colors and why? Do you use it a lot or now and then sparingly to not get bored of it? Let me know in the comments below on what you guys use for metallics. I'm quite curious. Alright, going in for swipe number 3 and doing my best to not wreck this last third of color. My worst fear was to go too quickly or put the palette knife too far into my paint and wreck this color. I'd done so well up to this point with my first 2 sets of color. I wanted to make sure and get this done and have an even set of color across the board. So my last swipe on this last attempt, let's see if I can't do it. No, again, I was quite nervous with this last swipe, so I wanted to make sure that I got it even and slow and took my time. This is probably sped up by about 4 times. I was quite slow on this last swipe, but I think it looks quite good. And from here, we do some tilting. Okay, now one thing on this tilt, as I pick up the canvas, I noticed immediately when I did my little spin there, is to figure out where the paint is on the canvas to find out kind of where it may sit. There was a lot of paint on this canvas. There was probably at least 12-ish ounces on the canvas as it was, and I had to be very careful and very slow and intentional with where I was tilting. There was a lot of black, maybe more than I needed, but ultimately I had to go quite slow and move back and forth in a pretty deliberate manner to make sure that the color didn't spill off the side. And I had some nice patterns here, so I wanted to make sure and go controlled as I could and making sure that I maintained that semicircle look I have in all three sections of color. Again, making sure to not go too fast. Okay, I'm at the point now where I have to decide what to do, where to tilt, and I figured that I had the best bet in keeping the most color and lacing pattern if I dumped the bottom, so the top, as we look at it, side first, and then move towards the front on that side. That was probably the skinniest of all 3 color patterns, which was fine. And the way I decided to make sure to keep the most color was to go along the sides there and right to the corner, and knowing the other two thirds would stretch quite far, but again, knowing I have a ton of paint on the canvas, I could stretch backward as well to make sure to make them as equal as possible. Again, making some negative space in the middle. Okay, if you have come this far with me in this pour, I appreciate it. I have a favor to ask of you. If you have made this far, please click that like button to help this video spread to more people who may enjoy it, and of course more acrylic fans who may enjoy this video rolling into their feed. Again, that like button would be amazing, plus any shares would be fantastic. I appreciate it. And we'll continue with this tilt here. Again, just trying to tilt off the remainder of that white paint I don't need anymore for my final corner, leading into the last bit of my tilting here, which turned out quite well. And as I get to the end here, I actually found that I had a lot less black paint on this side of the canvas than I thought. I probably dumped the wrong side first, but ultimately worked out in my favor because I could spread it out fairly evenly, and of course I can see all of the colors spread quite well, and I got a good blend of the bronze and the blue, and of course the copper is one of the better accents of the 3 I find. That breaks up that black, so again, that negative space worked quite well in every third, and I think that ultimately this one worked out quite well. Okay, moving into a bit of a wet look of the overtop view of what I saw when I was done. I really like the contrasting in colors and the lacing effects this one gave off. I think that the white titanium from Amsterdam does a great job in giving this effect when lacing is what you want. Now, again, I was quite happy with the color combination, but the black base I think worked the best because I found that with my metallics, I like something to help complement the shiny of the colors. So I think that the black base was probably a good call versus a white, and here we are with the final product. So if you did enjoy this video, give me some feedback on how you think I did and ultimately what you thought. And of course, if you did like it, please click this next playlist here to enjoy some more swipes, and we'll see you again in the next one.